What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a swipeable stack of images, kind of in the Tinder fashion. Like you see, we can swipe left and right across a stack of images. I've already got all my code written, a little step-by-step guide, and all this stuff that I'm showing you here will be found in the link in the description in the GitHub repo. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and install your dependencies, your libraries that you're going to need. And I've already done that, so I'm not going to do it again. It's already there. The next thing you have to do is wrap your app.js. In fact, you know what? Let me just copy it from here. I've already got everything done. All right. So you got gesture handler root view right here, which is part of the React Native gesture handler library. And all that's doing when you do that, when you wrap it right here, see how the entire app is written or is wrapped in it? All that's doing is creating a view that will detect any kind of gestures inside of it. And when you do that, you have to make sure you put a style with a flex of 1. Otherwise, it won't show anything. It'll be 0, you know. So anyway, and then you got the images array, which is just some images I'm pulling from Picsum. If you don't know about it, you can go to picsum.com. I think it's picsum.com. If not, you can just Google Picsum. Anyway, next thing you have to do is create your components. So inside of your components library, go ahead and create a swipeable image folder. Then we'll just carry this one down there. We have it down there. There we go. So all this is doing, well, let me go ahead and show you on this one here. Right now we have a basic app. So there you go. Give a blank slate right here. So right here, you got your gesture detector, which is just components from that React Native gesture handler library, which will wrap everything in, which will detect the gestures inside of it. And you have animated, and then you have your use share value hook with timing, use animated style, and then run on JS. And I'll kind of go over that as we're going through this. So right here you have your current index, which is just what you're going to use to track the index of the topmost picture, which will also track the image that's behind it. It's just saying that when you swipe 1, this will change to 1. If you swipe it again, it will change to 2, so on and so forth, and move on to the next picture, and then shift the pictures up from the bottom. Then you have your use share value hook, which is just what we're going to be using to track the position of each image. So it'll tell you whether or not, if they swiped far enough or not, And also it'll zero it. So like 0 is center. So if you swipe left and you don't swipe it left enough, then, well, let me show you. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So like right here, if I don't swipe enough, boom, it goes back to center, And then when you swipe far enough, it shifts it off screen. So position is tracking the position of the image inside of there. Then you got your window width and height, which is just what I'm using to scale the image to make it full screen. And then you have right here, we have an on swipe complete, which is just what's happening when we swipe. So anytime a swipe is occurred, it will increase the current index so it moves on to the next image, and then it'll set a timeout right here. And the reason I've set a timeout is because if you don't, then it'll automatically set it to 0 and it'll flash. You'll see a flash of an image as the new one updates. So you have to do this and kind of put a slight delay in there before it resets the position to 0. You can take that out if you want. You can see what I'm talking about, or change it so that it's not a timeout. You just put it in. If you put it in right here, I'll show you. So now we have that. course, it's not doing it now. Of course, it's not doing it now. But anyway, it was doing it to me. You don't want to use a timeout. You don't have to. If you have the issue where it's flashing, you can put that in there. I'm gonna leave it in there because it was doing it. So anyway, then you have your gesture.pan, which is just gonna check out. It's gonna detect the pan gesture. So like you can actually go up and down and pan. It's just panning anywhere is what it's doing. And right here is where your position is updating. You know what I mean? Anytime any movement happens, this will run. This will run when the action ends, when the gesture ends, it'll run this function. It'll run all this code right here. And this is just your translation, which is just your x-axis. And right here, this is something that gave me trouble. So you can't put this function inside of there, like so. Like I thought you would be able to, but you can't do that. It has to be outside of there for scope because this code right here is running on a separate UI thread, which is why we need this run on JS function right here. And it'll call run on JS, and then it'll call that function up there, which actually returns a function. It's complicated. You have to look up the run on JS documentation to really understand it. But it's running a function. It's returning a function, and then you're running the function with the parameters. So that's why you have to pass the current and set current index. You can't just use the one that's up here. You have to pass it to it to get the current state on that thread. So anyway, you have your animated style, which is just the animation that's gonna be playing, and we're using the transform translate x position, which will just move it left and right on the x-axis. Then you have your gesture detector, which uses the pan gesture that we created up here. You're just passing all that information to it. You have an animated view. Anytime there's an animation, you have to have the animated view. And then again down here, for each image, we'll have to have another animated view. Anything that's being animated, since there's a list of components, you have to have a list of animated views in order for it to work. And all we're doing is going into our images and looping through and creating a stack of images. And then you'll use the styling to put everything where you need it. I'm not going to go over that too much. You understand CSS. If not, then you can look at the code and figure it out. If you have any questions, you can ask a comment, and I won't hesitate to answer any questions. But that's really it. It's super simple once you get it set up, but for some reason I was struggling with this run on JS. I had trouble grasping the concept of the UI thread and the JS thread, and then figuring out how to make it so that it was running on the JS thread versus the UI thread inside here. So that's it. Simple, quick, easy. If you got any questions, feel free to comment. If you got anything out of it, hit the like button, subscribe, help me out trying to get some followers. That's it. Hope you guys got something out of it, and have a nice day. Deuces.